guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for tuning in to watch. It means the world to me to have you guys liking, commenting, subscribing. The engagement on my channel has been so awesome already, and I have you guys to thank for that. So thank you so much. Today I'm so excited about today's topic. We're going to talk about metabolic flexibility. I feel like this isn't often discussed. Not a lot of people are aware of what it is and how it affects our bodies. So stay tuned if you want to learn more about that. We're wondering, what is metabolic flexibility? Metabolic flexibility is the ability to burn more than one fuel source. So to be able to go from being a fat burner to a sugar burner or burning glucose. This is what our bodies should naturally be able to do. But because of being on such high carbohydrate diets, so being glucose dependent, to our stressful environment, to not exercising enough, our bodies aren't naturally able to do that. That's why sugar burners, so people who burn glucose, really struggle to get into ketosis or, kind of go through that keto flu part of becoming a fat burner. That's because our bodies aren't used to burning fat. We are used to burning sugar. That is why it's important that we have metabolic flexibility so we are able to do both. Why being glucose dependent isn't a good thing. That is when we begin to see inflammation, immune system function decreases, we see insulin spikes, diabetes happens. Only being able to burn sugar isn't a good thing. That is why we also need to be able to be fat adapted, because keto has so many amazing benefits. It is kind of like a reset to our body. It helps kind of neutralize everything from going from sugar burner to having those crazy insulin spikes to being fat adapted. Our insulin stays pretty consistent. However, it is still important to be able to burn glucose properly, but we also want to be able to burn fat too. So for instance, where we might really want to be able to burn glucose is with our explosive athletes. So for instance, our sprinters, or even lifting, where we need to kind of replenish those glycogen stores. So for me, for instance, I'm a lifter, and I do perform sprints too every so often. So for an instance, when I know I need carbohydrates after my workouts, I am able to eat them and feel good still. My insulin spikes are so much better. I don't feel that crash. I don't have headaches. I don't feel dizzy. And so much more. So that is when it is really important to be able to burn glucose. But for your average human being who isn't an athlete, who doesn't sprint all the time, who doesn't lift weights, maybe just goes for walks or is pretty sedentary throughout the day, glucose isn't as important for them, for instance. So it really depends on the individual and what works for you. So metabolic flexibility is something we should all be striving for, and is when you increase your whole body insulin sensitivity, so you're able to better handle and digest carbohydrates better. Your ability to deal with glucose throughout the day is increased, and your insulin spikes are much better, while being able to also automatically transition into being a fat burner too. So here are some tips to obtain metabolic flexibility. Number one would be to start cutting out your carbohydrates, especially in the morning when we just wake up. Our bodies are technically in a fasted state, so we're naturally in ketosis. We're just not in nutritional ketosis. So carbohydrates in the morning aren't really essential until we start moving our bodies. Maybe we get a workout in, things like that. We don't need carbohydrates until we're performing, heavy exercise or things like that. And for me personally, I do fine without carbohydrates even when I lift or when I do sprints. But there are some days where I can feel like, hey, yeah, maybe a carb up is what I need. My body is just feeling like it needs that little extra fuel, and so I don't have to worry about it. I'm able to properly digest those carbohydrates and move on with my day and get back into ketosis. Lowering your carbohydrates and maybe waiting to have them until later, till after you exercise or after a long day of running around doing things, this increases our whole body insulin sensitivity. So then when you do consume those carbohydrates, you're better able to properly digest them and use them for energy. So next would be to start increasing your fats. So by consuming more fats, lowering our carbohydrates, minimizing our protein, we then start to get into ketosis. So we transition from being a glucose burner to a fat burner. So now we kind of have both sides of fuel sources. We have our sugar and our fat. So being able to rotate between the two can be tricky, but it is doable. It can take time. It can take, exercise, finding out which carbohydrates best suit your body, and then finding what works for you. I'm a firm believer in finding a way that works best for your body, because everyone's different. What works for me isn't going to work for you. Maybe you do need carbohydrates before you work out, but that to me may show me that you're not fully fat adapted. If you're fully fat adapted, you shouldn't need carbohydrates before you work out. You will have this natural energy and feel good. But if you do know you're going to be doing sprints or a crazy heavy lift and carbohydrates are best, then go for it. You should be able to properly consume them and use them to the best of your ability with being metabolically flexible. Another way to become metabolically flexible is to look at your whole lifestyle. How is your environment that you're living in? Are you constantly stressed? Is your cortisol always high? Are you regularly exercising? These all play a role in our bodies being able to fully function right, and again, becoming metabolically flexible. So that kind of sums it up. I hope that made sense to you guys. I just wanted to make a really quick video to subtly explain it. But thank you again for tuning in. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the video, if you liked it, if you have any questions, and then always leave any tips you may have for me making better videos, or any topics you want me to discuss. I love to hear, and I'm always open to ideas. So thank you guys again. I hope you have a great weekend, and please like, comment, and subscribe below. That means the world to me. Have a good day, guys.